you hear him say, like, that is the quote, it's F1 has no problems. And you just look at it and go, well, if it's got no problems, why are so many people complaining? But Max says it how he is. He's a very strong personality. He's a very strong character. And if we were to lose him, I think F1 would be a poorer place without him. I don't know if I could go as far as to say it seems like he's kind of got his head in the sand a little bit, or that F1 leaders do. But that's how it's going to come across to some people, I think, by saying these things in public. From my understanding, there are talks going on about maybe more wholesale, might not be the right word, but more significant changes to rules that could come in as soon as for the 2027 season. Wow. Why would those conversations be happening if everything was hunky-dory? I thought it was interesting just because it's a bit of an insight into how sometimes elite sports people are managed to the point where we can get no personality out of them because people just want to meddle and block it from happening almost.
Hello, I'm Richard Garnett and welcome to this Monday edition of Pit Lane Talk, your one-stop shop for Formula One discourse. I am brought to the Echo offices with my esteemed colleagues who I've not seen for a while. It's been I don't know, it's been about 4 weeks, has it, or something like that. I've been in Japan, so absence makes the heart grow fonder.
It's been a long time.
It's been a long time. I've missed the F1 power couple of Richard journalist Abby Nicholson. Abby, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, yes.
Good.
And of course, the Daily Express's F1 correspondent Daniel Moxon. How are you doing?
Yeah, good. It's race week. It's exciting.
It's race week. There's been, whilst I was away in Japan, I missed the Japanese Grand Prix because I was doing touristy things. And then we haven't had a race since then. We've only been talking about the Strait of Hormuz, not other straits on racetracks, which would be nice to get back to the main business of Miami Grand Prix coming up this weekend. And of course, you're going.
I am, yeah. It's my first one on the ground this year. The Australia, China and Japan is not a particularly cost-effective first 3 rounds of the season. So yeah, no, I'll be on the ground in Miami. Very much looking forward to getting out and about. Unfortunately, I've left our little kid with Abby at home for the weekend. Sorry about that, Abby.
It's fine.
But yeah, no, getting into the paddock. It'll be my second year in a row doing Miami, so it's not a new one for me. But yeah, excited to get out
there. So you've got no Dan for a few days.
Yeah.
How will you cope?
I'll watch the F1. And to be fair, I've got my little best mate. We'll not be stuck for things to do. We'll be all good. And we always have a look as well because the journalists can go into a raffle for going on the pit lane. So we always have a little look and see if we can spot Danny on the TV, which is nice.
A raffle.
Oh, that'll be
a raffle, sorry.
It kind of is a raffle, really.
I couldn't think of the right word.
The prizes.
Yeah.
You get to go on the grid.
Well, that's the thing, because you see the grid when you're watching it on the TV and stuff, but not every journalist is actually allowed. Some of them automatically get it, but you basically have to put your name in and it almost gets drawn out of a hat. It basically is a raffle.
So that's why it's a raffle then.
Yeah. So I did go on the Miami grid last year. It's one of the more sort of celebrity-laden ones.
Did you speak to Martin Brundle or?
Well, Martin just ignores you. No, I'm kidding. No, Martin's great. It's everyone else that ignores him on a pit
Thinks he owns
walk.
the gaff.
Well, he does own the gaff. He's Martin Brundle. He does own the gaff. But yeah, no, it's a really cool experience. You look around and you can't walk around without hitting a celebrity. Basically, it's a pretty interesting place.
Sounds pretty cool. Well, I'll look forward to the Daniel Moxon tombola.
Yeah,
on the pit lane there, or hopefully we'll spot you. Getting down to business then, there's plenty to talk about, especially now we've actually got some racing, which always helps. Some rule changes that have come in since the Japanese Grand Prix, and they are looking to solve a few issues as well by implementing them. So can you put a bit of meat on the bone on that and let us know what they are?
Yeah, well, we knew, didn't we, that they'd been meeting over the course of these few weeks, and there'd been complaints from the start from a few people, but the Ollie Bearman crash at Suzuka really sort of put it into focus of, okay, there's at the very least a safety issue that we need to have a look at here in terms of the closing speeds between cars that are being caused by these batteries. So this break provided an opportunity for a few weeks for people to talk, all the people that need to get together and chat about these things. And they're going to be trying some new things out, which is all we can really ask for. Most of the changes are to do with energy management, that sort of thing. The aims really being, one of them being safety, to try and reduce those closing speeds in certain areas. And the other part of it being quali, which is more of a driver request, really. But we've had situations like Suzuka, to take it as an example, is just one of the most amazing race tracks. Some iconic corners where you've got 130R as an example, the left-hander where you've got F1 cars ideally should be going flat out through that section. But because of the battery demands, you had cars going slowly through there and you had drivers just saying like, it's just not fun to drive these amazing corners that every driver looks forward to going through at the highest possible speed they can because they're all nuts.
Yeah.
They really are. You have to be a race driver, I think, to a certain extent. But then, you get to them and then the battery's slowing you down. And I think there was a quote from Fernando Alonso in Japan where he was saying, I can't remember who he said, it was like the cleaner or something like that could have gone through the car, through that corner at the same speed that he was because of the car. No, it was the chef, actually. Sorry, not the cleaner. I remember now.
Very important to get that right.
Yes, exactly. No, I don't want to offend the cleaner or the chef, really. But especially not the chef. They handle your food. You do not offend the chef. Exactly. So that's very much a driver request. So they've had a tweak with some of the energy management aspects in the hope that they won't be able to go fully flat out, but hopefully we'll be able to see more flat out cars on track.
There's obviously been many tweaks to F1 made already before these rules have come in. Have you noticed any particular differences yourself, Abby, on the tracks and the races, or has it just become a more enjoyable spectacle this season as a result of the changes that they brought in?
I think there's absolutely no denying that it's a lot more exciting to watch. And one thing that they have said is, even though these rule changes are coming in now ahead of Miami, there won't be any impact to that yo-yo effect of racing that we've been seeing a lot more overtaking, because that is the enjoyable part. That they're just saying it's really enjoyable for people to watch, which it is really enjoyable. But I think there needs to be that balance there of listening to these drivers, these really experienced drivers, best in their field. That's why they're there. And making sure it is still enjoyable. I think it's just really important that F1 don't just look at the money. It's very easy to look at the money. We all know that it is. But when you've got people obviously possibly getting hurt, I think you do need to have that balance there. So it's good that they've taken some new points on board and that they're trying to make some changes. But I think they do really need to be listening to those drivers rather than making sure that they're making money still.
Well, we know, Max Verstappen's had plenty to say about the changes, hasn't he? He's had a good old moan. The purists will say that sort of yo-yo overtaking is not real racing, but then spectators will say it's exciting and it's what people want to see.
You're never going to win, though, are you? Like, everyone has their own opinion, rightly so. And trying to please everyone is going to be very, very difficult. And I think that now we have seen that little bit more of excitement, that overtaking a little bit more. It'll be hard because there's new people coming into the sport all the time. And if they see all of this overtaken, then all of a sudden they go back to square one where they were last year. You're never going to win, are you? There's always going to be someone that's disappointed.
Exactly. And I think these changes are here to stay, aren't they, Dan? So we're going to have to, I was going to say lump them, but the bottom line is the races have been entertaining. So
they have.
And Miami is a sprint weekend, isn't it, as well? Which does serve up its own problems because there's been no race since Japan. Obviously, two Grand Prix cancelled, so it's been a long period of time now. I can work out how long it is from the time I was actually in Japan, which actually depresses me slightly. So I'm trying not to do that. Not that I'm not enjoying your company. Let's be clear on that.
I mean, to be fair, if we were in Japan, I'm pretty sure we'd feel the same. Sorry.
I think you're absolutely right. A sprint weekend, so only one practice session, which is a bit of a problem when these cars have been out of action for a period of time. So what are they doing to counteract that?
Yeah, so as you say, sprint weekend, that means we're going to be straight into the competitive action on a Friday after one practice session. So instead of a normal 60-minute session, they're going to be extending that to 90 minutes. An extra 30 minutes doesn't sound like a massive amount of time, especially when they normally have 3 hours of practice on a normal weekend. But it is extra data that they're going to be able to gather. It's extra information that they're going to be able to learn about how their engines react to these new electrical management changes, because they've been managing it so much so far, they've just about got used to how these engines are behaving, and then all of a sudden they're going to be behaving a little bit differently because of these tweaks. So that extra 30 minutes, I think, is going to be pretty important for these teams to be able to know a little bit of a semblance of what they're doing ahead of sprint qualifying later on the Friday.
Do you think we might obviously we've seen a lot of dominance at the moment in terms of how the standings have taken place in the early races. Do you think this little period we might see a few different changes? Maybe some of the teams that weren't performing as well to start with might come back with something new.
It'd be really exciting, I think, to see, because especially Ferrari, they, I think, are the closest to Mercedes that they could be. It'd be really good to see if they can just get there. But to be honest, Mercedes are just so dominant. They were so dominant. I think it would take a lot. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the performance, it's the engine side of it, which is where the performance gap seems to be, where it is between Mercedes and the teams closest to them, which we think is Ferrari and probably McLaren.
Ferrari, we think, are better on corners, don't we? Is that right?
We think that at the very least, they think that they, chassis-wise, have got a car that is on par with the Mercedes car. It's the engines that's making the difference a little bit. And then obviously, like, you look at McLaren have got the same engines as Mercedes, but when you're a customer team, when you're a works team like Mercedes are, they immediately know, in theory at least, how to get the very best out of their new engines, whereas McLaren, there was always going to be a little bit of a learning period where they...
Like a delay.
Yeah, exactly. But, I mean, we already saw in Japan, Oscar Piastri he finally got off to a race start, which was, better than he'd managed in the previous two.
It's a good start, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
But
then when he did, the pace that he was showing was good. You know, we can always talk about ifs and buts, but if the safety car didn't come out when it did, he might have been a contender for the win. We don't know. So yeah, we've got those people who naturally are probably going to be closing. But I think these, we spoke to Toto Wolff before this vote on the same day before the vote of these changes came in. And he was saying that there needs to be a scalpel rather than a bat being taken to these rules, as in we need to just, refine them and warning. He went on a 7-minute rant as well at the end of that interview, basically warning competitors against using these potential changes as an opportunity to just push through stuff that would benefit them, to use it in a selfish manner. And there doesn't seem to be any suggestion that anyone has, which is good. It's nice to see that everyone sort of came together and did something that was in everyone's best interests. But I think Mercedes come out of it feeling pretty happy then as a result that, well, I guess we'll see competitively on track, but I don't think there's any anticipation that the competitive order is going to get shaken up too much by these changes.
No, well, we'll find out for real when the action gets underway. In Miami, what sort of temperatures are we expecting in Miami, just to make us feel a bit jealous?
Yeah, warm. Although, actually, it's been quite warm in the UK lately, hasn't it?
Well, for a day. Yeah. Come on.
Sorry. But yeah, no, we're expecting, it's Florida. It's rarely cold in Florida. So we're going to be a little bit warmer. There's always potential for sort of, we had a few tropical storms coming in last year, which gave us some wet racing for the first time in Miami. We hadn't had that in the few times that we'd visited beforehand. So that is a factor. It can happen. It's the part of the world where these things sort of bubble up fairly quickly. And we haven't had a wet race yet in 2026. And it would be very, very interesting to see how these cars run in those conditions.
We'll wait and see. I hope it isn't wet for your sake, at least, Dan, anyway. But,
it's fine. I've got, little plastic ponchos. You live, won't you?
F1 CEO Stefano Domenicali, sorry. Knew I'd butcher that. He's been doing the rounds, probably filling a bit of time, hasn't he, between races. He has conducted a couple of big interviews, but it's sort of overarching sort of message from him or his rather bold claim is that F1 has no problems, which I'm very pleased for him because everyone else seems to have the odd problem, but F1 hasn't got any apparently, according to him. So
yeah, he did this before the start of the season, and I think we talked about it on a podcast, I think a couple of episodes ago, didn't we? He was very much like firefighting, saying everything's going to be fine, just wait, just watch the race. But I think saying something as blanket as that, it just doesn't show the full situation, does it? I imagine it's quite worrying to see from a driver's perspective, who are obviously, they're putting their lives on the line every time they get into a car. It is so dangerous. Yeah,
I think, obviously I can't speak for Stefano, but I think when he says F1 has no problems, he's the chief executive officer. His job, we shouldn't forget, and we do sometimes, and we do it in all sports, but Formula One as well, and we do it in football sometimes and everything as well. we like to romanticize it as a sport, and I think we should, because sport's an amazing thing, but we also can't forget it's a business. And Stefano's job is to make Formula One as profitable as possible, and I don't think anyone can argue that he's not done a very good job of that. It is very, very profitable. It is a very, very, well-run business in terms of the amount of money that they make. When he says that F1 has no problems, he's looking at the numbers. I think that's pretty clear. He's looking at profit margins and revenue streams, and they've just had a big hit from Bahrain and Saudi being cancelled, but that's force majeure. That's things out of their control. In terms of how F1 is operating, it is a very profitable, lucrative business. So I think he's looking at that as a businessman and saying, F1 has no problems. We're making shed loads of money. It's great.
I'm glad you said sheds.
Yes.
I thought he was going to slip then.
Yeah, I almost put our beep technician to work there, didn't I?
Keep him busy.
Yeah. But yeah, no. Commercially, I don't think anyone can argue that F1 doesn't really seem to have any problems right now commercially. But it's the sporting product, and I think when he says F1 has no problems, it comes across a little flippant. It comes across a little
corporate.
Very, very corporate.
You know
This is it. And I understand, again, his job is making F1 look good, and it's you said it there, firefighting a little bit, where everyone's saying, oh, these regulations, there's a lot of doom and gloom about them, and all of a sudden he goes on a little bit of a media tour, and he is firefighting a little bit. That's the right word for it, I think. But yeah, it's just hard when you hear him say, like, that is the quote, is F1 has no problems, and you just look at it and just go, well, if it's got no problems, why are so many people complaining? And there's an old phrase of, to fix something, you must first acknowledge that there's something to fix in the first place. And I don't know if I could go as far as to say it seems like he's kind of got his head in the sand a little bit, or that F1 leaders do, but that's how it's going to come across to some people, I think, by saying these things in public.
Who are the people at the moment with problems? Is it the F1 purists? Do you think is that where the underlying issue lies? And he'll argue, well, we've never made more revenue. We're open to a wider range of people. What, you should get on with it.
I think for him, the main issues aren't the fans. The main issues are the drivers and them bringing up things. For example, Max obviously being so open about his future. That's a big, big question that's coming up every single time Stefano does interviews. It's always, what about Max? Do you think Max is going to leave? How are you going to deal with a loss like Max? So I think it's more the drivers and the teams that he's getting pressure from, which obviously, I don't know how to word this. I guess, fans, their opinion should be taken seriously, because at the end of the day, we are the ones that are giving the money. We're watching it. We are going to races. We're traveling across the world if we're able to and lucky enough to. But I think it's more the drivers that are on his mind.
Well, this is a massively expensive sport that stands to get even more expensive based on global issues around fuel and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So I guess playing devil's advocate a little bit, I know he said he's got no problems. That's definitely not true.
No, exactly.
But at the same time, if he can protect the profit lines of Formula One, then they can counteract for things like extra charges, which inevitably they're going to have to absorb over the course of the season.
It kind of undermines the argument as well when they say that F1 has no problems, when, like we said, we've got these minor changes that have been made ahead of Miami in the hopes of improving the product a little bit as well, and I think everyone supports that. But, the FIA's single-seater director, Nicholas Tombassis, came out afterwards and said that this is an evolution and not a revolution of the rules.
Bit Alan Partridge, but on you.
Yeah, exactly. There are suggestions from what I understand that this is not going to be a full fix. This is not going to, people aren't going to be on track in Miami. Like you said, there's still going to be the yo-yo overtaking and things like this. There will still be a lot of complaints about the racing. Maybe more from fans. The drivers might be happier, especially if the qualifying is a lot more flat out than has previously been the case.
Yeah.
But my point is the F1 has no problems line kind of gets undermined when, from my understanding, there are talks going on about maybe more wholesale, might not be the right word, but more significant changes to rules that could come in as soon as for the 2027 season.
Wow.
Why would those conversations be happening if everything was hunky-dory.
Domenicali also doubled down in his interviews about the prospect of Max Verstappen leaving F1. We've already touched on Verstappen having a right old moan about F1 in general. But apparently, he's going nowhere, according to the CEO.
So weird, though, because in that exact same interview, he's gone two ways. So he says that he hasn't changed his mind on the fact that he thinks that Max isn't going to go. But then later in the interview, he said, I really hope that he will stay. So it's just very, very confusing.
It's just another thing. It's like he has no...
He's not Max.
He's no say or weight in that. He has absolutely no way to influence the outcome of that.
Other
it's
than
completely
talking
up
to
to
him.
Max and his dad and his manager and the people around him to decide what he wants to do next year.
Well, he can. He can throw more money at him.
Well, I guess, but that's up to Red Bull again, isn't it? But,
We promise you can swear. Will that make you stay?
yeah. Say what you want, it's fine.
More fines.
Yeah.
Give him shed loads more money.
No community
Well,
service.
he's already the highest paid driver on the grid. Like, money isn't an issue here. He's a 4-time world champion. He's already got more money than most of us can ever dream of having in a lifetime. His kids, grandkids' dentist are probably set for life at this point. But he's got the money. He's got the titles that he wanted. He's achieved his childhood dreams and that sort of thing. Why would he stay other than because he enjoys it? It's a massive demand, Formula One. You're away from home like 200 days a year if you're doing all 24 races, which if you're a driver, that's not really optional. If you want to win the World Championship, you can't just say, don't really fancy Saudi this week, or yeah, exactly. So the thing that's keeping him around is because he loves what he does and because he enjoys it. So if he's not enjoying driving these cars, why would he stick around?
Would F1 be worse without Max Verstappen? Do you think he's still? I mean, obviously the CEO would like him to stay by the sounds of things, wouldn't he? But there's a driver who's kind of done it all and seen it all. Is it time for him to step aside? Or?
I think he's definitely mellowed over the last few years, but he's a really exciting driver to have on the grid. And I love how he says it how it is. He always says what's on his mind, and he is enjoyable to watch race, especially when it's those close corners, side by side. It's so nice to watch him race. It would be an absolute shame to watch him go.
It would.
But at the end of the day, it is going to come to that point, and it is nice seeing new drivers come in.
He's not a robot, is he? You know what I mean?
No, and there's two sides of it. There's F1 does always move on. Michael Schumacher retired and we moved on without him. Lewis Hamilton will eventually retire. We moved on without him. Every amazing, every major champion that we've ever had, they've retired, or sometimes we've lost them in tragic circumstances like Ayrton Senna. And, the sport always survives and we find our next champion. That's just how it works. So, the world will turn without Max Verstappen on the Formula One grid. At the same time, commercially, he's a big draw. He's very, very popular. He's also very, very unpopular among certain people. So there will be a lot of people that couldn't wait to see the back of him. There'll also be a lot of people devastated to see him go from the fan perspective. But like you said there, he's a personality. He's a character. F1's a little bit devoid of those at the moment. It's not so long ago, the Drive to Survive was so popular and it caught the imagination of so many people because you had Gunther Steiner complaining about people smashing his door, and he's a very larger-than-life character. Christian Horner, love him or hate him, he plays a role, or played a role, I should say. He's no longer obviously in F1. He was the pantomime villain, as a lot of people have described him as. A lot of people love him, and he's obviously achieved a lot. A lot of people really hate Christian Horner, and he kind of leaned into that as his personality, at least his public one.
Not many people that can stand up in the middle of the O2 being booed and still smile.
Yeah, exactly. And then, Daniel Ricciardo, he was the first star of Drive to Survive. Everyone absolutely loved this guy that came on the screen and went, "Hi, I'm Daniel Ricciardo and I'm a car mechanic," as his first thing that came on there. We've lost those people. They're not in F1 anymore, and those are the biggest personalities. And Max, again, is a little bit like Christian in that you either love him or loathe him. But Max says it how he is. He's a very strong personality. He's a very strong character. And if we were to lose him, I think F1 would be a poorer place without him.
Okay, well, there's going to be a new race next season. Back on the F1 circuit is the Turkish Grand Prix, which is in Istanbul Park. I believe. I've been to Istanbul.
Yeah.
What city? Fantastic place. If you've not been, get yourself to Istanbul. It's great.
Knowing you being a Liverpool fan, Istanbul has a special place in the hearts of a red, doesn't it?
To mention, Dan, but yes, I was there in 2005 for the famous Champions League final. I was there for about 2 nights, but the actual city itself is quite something else.
Have to add it to our list.
Yeah, yeah. Get yourself there. But back on the F1 circuit, I think the last race was in 2021. Is that right?
Yes.
Bottas, the victor. A dramatic course. Is that a good addition back to the roster?
I think it's a popular one. The way that it's come back is a bit funny, just because it got announced by the tourism board several hours before the Turkish tourism board, before F1 actually announced it.
Couldn't hold the
They were just so excited.
Knowing the F1 comms people as I do, I imagine they would have been some very frustrated people for an afternoon there. But so that was a bit interesting. But yeah, no, I think it's going to be a popular re-edition. A lot of drivers like driving on that track. It's got really positive memories for Lewis Hamilton. It's where he won his the seventh title was won in Turkey. He had his dog Roscoe there that he lost, unfortunately, over the winter. But yeah, it's got positive memories for him. 2021, as you said, that was the last race that we had there. It came back for 2 years in COVID. Valtteri Bottas won that one, so it'll be nice to go into a race where Valtteri, even though he's driving for Cadillac, is the defending champion of that race. That's fun. Might not have much chance in a Cadillac, but you never know. But yeah, no, I think it's going to be a popular re-addition to the calendar.
Very technically difficult as well. So I imagine the drivers are like being back there too and just having something a little bit different to do. And it's a 5-year agreement as well. So it's here to stay for a good few years.
There's a lot of steep hills in this one, isn't there? I think about a lot of undulation. I believe on certain parts of the course.
It's a driver's track. It's technical. It's twisty, as you say. It's you've really got to, and hopefully again, if we can get these cars pushing it flat out again, I think it's going to be one that a lot of people can enjoy.
Well, if Istanbul's back in, what does that mean for us? Are we going beyond 24 races in a season? That's the next question, isn't it?
Yeah. So as it stands, we think we're staying at 24. Because we've got Turkey coming in. Portugal has already been confirmed for 2027 and 2028. The Portimao track is going to be coming back. So then going out, the Dutch Grand Prix has already announced that this year's Zandvoort race is going to be the last one. So that was obviously a straight swap for, let's say, Portugal. And then the space that's been made for Turkey is that we already know that Spa and Barcelona are going rotational with each other and going for every other year. So the other slot that's being made is where Turkey should fit in. So right now we shouldn't have to go beyond 24. In the previous Concord agreement, there was space for up to 25 races per season. The new Concord agreement that's been agreed between the FIA, F1 and all of the teams, we don't actually know what that number is or whether that's changed at the moment. But there is, I doubt it would have come down. I would be very surprised if it come down. So there is going to be room for at least one more race should they want. But right now, and I don't think there is much of a desire to go beyond 24 because it's already a huge strain on people that have to travel around, cost, environmental impacts, all those sort of things, which obviously F1 is they're wanting to be net zero by 2030. So that's a consideration they have to think about as well. So right now, it looks like we're going to stick at 24. It's just a shame. Like Portimao and Turkey, you know, they're established tracks. It's not as though they're just creating another new street circuit, which, you know, people like older tracks to be sticking around and stuff. It's just a shame that it comes at the cost of Spa in particular. The fact that that's going rotational, we've talked about that before. It's one of the motorsport circuits in the world, and the fact that we're not going to be going there every year is ridiculous.
Oh, well, I was going to say exactly the same thing, so I can't really add anything to do that. It's a bit absurd, isn't it? Spa is the sort of the F1, the driver's favourite, I think, and the fans as well. Really, it's
like a flagship.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
It really is. That's the thing. You know, I think Silverstone remains the flagship because it's the first World Championship race was ever held at Silverstone, and my understanding, it's the one with the biggest attendance, 500,000 people there last year. I imagine at least that this year. I highly doubt the attendance will go down. So. But yeah, for Spa to go, it's a real shame.
I said earlier, are F1 drivers allowed to have a personality anymore? Which brings us on nicely to Lando Norris, who has done an interview with The Guardian.
Yeah.
and which is,
it's an interesting read.
He's been asked plenty of questions and given some answers, but not all of them were answered by him in a bit of shall we say, controlled environment. Probably the best way to put it. Tell us a bit more about how that's gone down.
Yeah, so this interview was set up because he was nominated and won Breakthrough of the Year at the Laureus World Sport Awards, which is quite a prestigious, for people who don't know, quite a prestigious sort of sporting awards ceremony. And as part of that, I did an interview with The Guardian, as you say. Donald McRae, the writer, very, very experienced sports journalist. Basically, if there's any sports person who's anyone, he's probably interviewed them at some point. And the thing is, it could have just been a very standard interview had his management not decided. And I should say here, like, Lando's no fault in any of this. This is not Lando bashing or anything like this. This is his management being very overzealous in this interview and trying to restrict the questions that can be asked, which is it can be fairly common practice in the F1 world from experience, but never to this extent where, if you haven't read this interview, people listening to this, you should go and find it. It's on the Guardian website. It's pretty eye-opening in terms of when you've got management people, one on the phone, one who's not even in the room, interrupting this interview, saying, you can't ask Lando this, you can't ask Lando that, and then someone in the room who's trying to do the same thing as well. And how it's described is that even Lando's just sat there just very exasperated by all of it. And, he's a world champion, he's a 26-year-old bloke. Just let him answer some questions. But then you've got people just sticking their fingers in pie and meddling. And I love that they wrote up the interview in this way, where they highlighted all of this.
They've called it out.
They have. It's great. I love it. The fact that, we're highlighting a thing where, like I say, a world champion in his field is not being allowed. And it's not even because there were difficult questions. It was just a bit about the regs and a bit about what it's like to drive against Max Verstappen, whether he thinks he'll retire at the end of the season. Fairly softball stuff. And the amount of meddling that goes on behind it, it's just a little bit of, I thought it was interesting just because it's a bit of an insight into how sometimes elite sports people are managed to the point where we can get no personality out of them because people just want to meddle and block it from happening almost.
I suppose in a scenario like this, it kind of helps when you've got a very experienced journalist reporting on an interview that's been controlled in that manner. Because if you're like a younger journalist just starting out, you might be a little bit nervous about taking on the management of the Formula One world champion, but that definitely wasn't the case here. You've got an old head who's seen it all and done it all, and essentially two-footed them a little bit.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, he even described at the end of the interview, he was pointing at his hair, going, "I've been doing this for a long time. Like, what?
Must be
what
grey,
are you
then."
doing?" Yeah, literally. And there was even a point in there where Lando said, like, "I can answer these questions," and it's so frustrating to see him being managed in this way, because he is a personality, and especially a few years ago, I feel like we saw a lot more of that. And it does feel like over the last few years, even when he is being interviewed after the race and he's without his management there, when he is asked some questions, he does just stand and laugh sometimes, or just say yes and just let the laugh be the answer. And now you can almost see why.
Yeah, we should clarify really that this is Lando's personal management. It's, the team themselves, McLaren, they're very open. They do
really open. In
my experience, I've never known them to, block any questions or particular topics from being asked or anything like that. So yeah, I want to sort of clarify that really. But yeah, it's the fans are just being shortchanged really. They're not being allowed to know more about the people that they spend a lot of money and a lot of time supporting.
I think I've kind of answered one of my own questions from earlier in this pod now, which was, would the sport be better or worse without Max Verstappen in it? Well, it's clear that they've tried to sort of control what Lando Norris can or can't say. But no one's doing that with Verstappen, are they? You know what I mean? I mean, he's just saying what the hell he wants.
Yeah, it's very much like Danny said, it's like the personal management side. So they must have been with him doing, obviously, these external interviews. But one thing I do really like about F1 is we don't really get this access to sports people anymore, especially like they're in a crash and they go off straight to the media pen and you get that raw reaction of what they're feeling. And it's nice to see, obviously, people being able to have their emotions, but to be able to see that from a sports perspective, it's like someone getting a red card in football and just coming straight off and speaking to the media. Like, you can just imagine.
We'd get some amazing quotes if they did, wouldn't we?
It certainly would.
It's good that F1 is like that. It's very rare. But it's definitely outside of that environment. You do feel like they're being censored a little bit, whether that's before you're interviewing them as a journalist and they're being asked not to ask certain questions or things like that. But F1 itself, I think they do a really good job.
Well, hopefully the sort of the restriction of Norris is not a sign of things to come in the future, and and it's more people maybe having a little bit too much self-importance in their own role and not giving people the freedom to express themselves to the free press, which is obviously what we're here for. On a lighter note, Ollie Bearman has bought his brother a gift.
Oh my God.
His brother's 16, just for context, and he's bought him a car. Why would we bring this up? Well, obviously he's an F1 driver, so although he's one of the lower earning Formula One drivers, he's still earning a pretty penny.
Yeah, more than most of us.
And he's brought his brother a car. But is it a car? It's a Fiat Topolino, as I always say it. Yeah,
legally not a car. No,
legally not a car.
They say that on purpose.
I would encourage our viewers to, if you don't know what one of those is, I would encourage our viewers to Google it.
Oh my God.
And you'll get a picture of it, and it basically looks like a fairground ride or a roller skate is the best way I can describe it.
A Fiat 500 without doors, with ropes as doors. So it's like a mix between a Fiat 500 and a golf cart, is what I'd say.
I mean, that rope's not really going to help you if you fall out, is it?
No, yeah. Like, I mean, Ollie Bearman, he's in one of those cars where, like, if it's designed to crash, basically. It's designed to crash so that you stay safe. If you're in one of them, I mean, you're just falling out the side, aren't you? But, I mean, I'm sorry, Ollie. I mean, I really like Ollie, but come on, like, you could do, like, just a little bit better. Like, I mean, I wouldn't say a Fiat 500, but, you know, I don't know. We could have gone for in a bath. Even in a bath. Just in a bath.
Is a Ferrari driver still? Does he get some sort of, because Fiat's a Ferrari company, I'm sure he gets some sort of staff discount.
I don't think he's even paid for it.
Possibly not.
Was it? Well,
£8 grand.
£8 grand.
£8 grand.
Yeah, £8,000. He can just pay for that in one go, can't he? Just have to pay it off. But
I mean, it's not a bad, when you think about it, an £8 grand present for your brother at Christmas is, my brother's lucky if he gets 50 quid. But, yeah.
I wanted to
Maybe
buy.
I'm just cheap.
I wanted to buy an old Neo Geo console in Japan, and I thought I was going to get a bargain. It was about 400 quid for a broken one.
Oh my God.
Yeah, although I can tell you, for any console enthusiasts, they are actually bringing out a remake of it, built based on the old architecture, and it's only going to be at £170. But that has nothing to do with Formula 1.
Well, you've kind of won there, though, price-wise.
In the end, yeah, I'm glad I didn't spend the money. But Oliver Bearman's brother has got something to get him around. I think he's not old enough to drive yet, so apparently it's just for going to the beach and back, which how the other half live.
I know. Yeah. But yeah, Ollie Bearman, he's a Yorkshireman at heart.
Yeah,
that's not very Yorkshire car, is it?
No, I'd like to see what people in Yorkshire would say.
Sorry, I mean money-wise, he has the heart of a Yorkshireman or the brain of a Yorkshireman, so we say.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. He can't use it in the UK because his brother doesn't have a full license yet, so he can only use it in the France and Monaco, which is where F1 drivers. But Monaco's quite hilly. Like I said, with just
28 miles an hour ain't gonna do it.
If you're going at 28 miles an hour around one of those corners, that rope's not going to do much to keep you in there.
No, it's not. No, you've got some nasty hairpin bends up there, and you could just run out of power going up a hill, couldn't you?
Well, that's the thing. It's so, because again, it's got 8 horsepower. If you're going up a hill, you're not going to be reaching 28 mile an hour.
That sounds like a him problem. To be honest with you.
And traffic jams in Monaco are very much, supercars, every other car. So you'll end up with McLarens and Bugattis behind this little Fiat top, while Ollie Bearman's brother's going like this to try and get it up the hill.
Kimi Antonelli leads this F1 season.
He does.
But we need some predictions for who's going to win this race. So, ladies first. Abby,
thank you.
What are you thinking?
Because I'm going with Kimi Antonelli. I was
3 in a row.
Yeah, I'm going to try. I'm going to see if he'll go there. But what's very interesting is the previous winners of the Miami Grand Prix, none of them started in first for the last 4. So that's Oscar Piastri, Lando Norris, Max Verstappen twice, once from 9th place as well.
Wow.
So I'm going to go for Kimi. I think he's been a really dark horse, and it's so nice to see him come out of his shell a bit.
Yeah.
Dan, what do you think?
Well, I've predicted all Mercedes, I think, in all of these predictions so far. You know what? I'm going to build on the pace that he showed when he actually got going, and the strides McLaren already seem to have made in terms of getting more out of that Mercedes engine. And I'm going to say that, like you say, qualifying on pole doesn't necessarily guarantee the win here. I'm going to say Oscar Piastri. Why not?
Good one. That's a good one.
Your excellent knowledge on previous winners not being on pole has reinforced my own idea behind this.
You're going for Ferrari, aren't you?
I'm going for Ferrari. It's got nothing. As long as he's not in a Fiat Topolino, I think Lewis Hamilton might be a dark horse here. I've just
It would be a very popular win.
It would be a very popular win if Kim Kardashian's there. It might sort of buy into the narrative. It's based on a bit more on
the story,
a story rather than any technical expertise.
You see that all the time, though, don't you? The story wins.
Indeed.
I love that.
So I'm going to go for Hamilton on this one. Bit of a rank outside. I probably won't put any money on it, but
it's just chocolate. It's just chocolate.
Just chocolate, yeah. We can deal in that currency. Okay, well, that brings us to the end of today's Pit Lane Talk. Many thanks, as always, to Abby Nicholson and Dan Moxon. Dan, have a great time in Miami. And I will speak to you next Monday. Hopefully via a secure internet connection.
Yeah, we'll do our best.
We will do our best, yeah. So we'll have another show on Monday coming partly from Miami. Fingers crossed that goes as we hope. Enjoy the Miami Grand Prix and have a great week.